slightly a shift in topic, but what do you guys think about the idea that you should have sex or experiment with sex before you get married, so you know what your partner is like?
Is it live from the pit of hell?
Can't lie. No, I can't lie. I used to be all for it because it's like.
That was like, let's go.
Yeah, man. Like, to be honest, like, how many, like, yeah, like, signing on that dotted line is a bit.
Yeah.
Because you're just, yeah, like,
If
you've grown up.
If you believe in it, it's for life.
Yeah, you've grown up in a world where you believe marriage is for life. You feel me? Whether like auntie and uncle like each other, they're still together for life. You feel me? So yeah, you believe it's for life, but you grow up in a culture where like sex is so prevalent. Like you can watch cartoons and it's there. You could watch a film and it's there.
Powerpuff Girls. There was that scene. The scene. Have you? There's a scene. They're in the mayor's office.
Swear.
Yeah, and the girl, she has a pencil, and like she's like talking mad seductively, and she's like, I can't even remember what. Like it's a mad scene, and she's basically holding his hand as he puts his hand inside the pencil sharpener, and she's like saying like this mad stuff, and he's like, they're vibrating. It's like. It's so mad.
That's because Cartoon Network is not for kids. First of all, like, it's actually not for kids.
So it's just like
it's not for kids.
Growing, like, let's be honest, like growing up, do you feel me? Like even before, like a lot of like for me, before I developed a relationship with Christ, it's literally just the man then moving to girls.
Yeah.
Do you feel me? And like anything's gonna have progression.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go from like being cool with girls, talking to girls, calling girls, going out with girls. So as you get older, things are progressing.
Yeah.
But you're not really like checking yourself or checking situations. You're not thinking of like at 18. You're not thinking, like one day I want to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I'm cool. This girl's cool.
Yeah.
We're both cool together, innit? So you're not really thinking about that.
Yeah.
So I think, like a lot of the time when I was younger, I just saw it as try before you buy kind of thing. Like if auntie can grab two avocados and squeeze them before she buys.
Wow.
Like
you just liking girls to avocados.
I'm not saying that like
feminists unite against iron.
I'm just saying it like
I just called girls avocados.
He's speaking of the eye of the past.
Do you know what though?
Yeah.
That's a good point. But again, this is why I feel like it's so important. Not just as Christians obviously because we're Christian, but it's important for me to discuss sex. Like from
how early?
To be honest, as early as you can for the context.
I know man in year 6 who are like doing madness. Listen, it was like it's real. Like from that early.
I think as early as you can for the context. Again, like
I don't know if I want to have kids anymore.
For the context. So some obviously, unfortunately, this is why it is important though, because if you don't talk to them, they're gonna find out.
They're gonna learn.
They got the internet at their fingers. They got Johnny, whose big brother lets him watch porn with him, and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like that. So the number one, it's important. We're gonna discuss sex. Number two, as well, from the Christian standpoint, not even like, your virginity is a precious flower and you must keep it until whatever. Not even like that, but actually. Like, let's actually value, like, we have to talk about it so we can understand what it is and understand the value of it and understand the gift that it is. Because if you understand, I feel like, even for guys, because there is this thing as well, that we still kind of do it in Christendom, where it's like, the girls are taught, like, save yourself, da-da-da-da. The guys, it's kind of like, you're told, like, wait, but really and truly, it's like you get a blight, like, you're going to be a guy, so da-da-da-da. So I feel like actually if both parties are informed of how important it is, how precious it is, not to vilify it or make you feel bad if you slip up or anything like that, but if we're just taught from early the value of yourself, how you should love yourself, how you should treat yourself, I feel like on the whole, then there wouldn't be such a thing. Like, even when guys are moving to girls and talking to girls and whatever, they just might have a different viewpoint about how we're going to approach this. Like, of course, we've all got sex drives, we've all got hormones, we want to do this, like, she looks good, da-da-da-da. But I feel like if you have an understanding from earlier on about what it is that you're going into, then that will help. I'm not saying it will completely, like, prevent people from having sex early or before marriage or whatever, but it will just help. Because I feel like it's not spoken about. It's like people learn from their peers. Like, okay, you were saying, obviously what the man them just did, you like, talk to girls, you move to girls, any situation, any opportunity, it's like, oh, let's see how certain times you're not even really necessarily looking for a girl too tough, but it's just like, this is just what we do, we just move to girls. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that the girls, it's like, oh, we just go places and we know that we're going to get moved to, like, and then that's just the thing that you do. So I feel like it needs to be spoken about from early to prevent, like, not just premature sex or sex outside of marriage or whatever, but actually to prevent other things happening, like molestation and abuse, because a lot of times things are not spoken about. It's all hush hush hush, so then people are, you know, taking advantage of other people, and then they don't know what's happening. And then even when they do know that what's happening, they're filled with so much shame that they can't even talk to their people, because they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be seen as I did this or I did that. It's like, no, I'm not in my household, it's not happening.
I think another place to come at it from as well for me is when it's not just like, I think first and foremost you have to come from a place where you trust God. Once you trust God, you know that he says and he does and he asks us to live a certain way for a reason. None of it is to spite us. Sex is something that was made by him for us to enjoy and obviously to procreate. But I think when you understand and you trust God's intentions for you, you don't doubt when he says things. So for me, I think one of the things I learned was basically what sex does outside of marriage to you and to your mind. It changes the way you see things, it changes the way you interact with girls, it changes everything. And it, like, you can start to develop essentially a sexual identity that becomes baggage later on. So like, if you're with someone, you develop this identity and you're like, oh, I like this, she does this, I like this as well, and it's like, oh, this is great. Doesn't work out, 5 years later you get married, and because your wife doesn't do the same things she did, all of a sudden there's a problem where there shouldn't be a problem, because you're comparing your wife to someone you had before who you were never meant to have before. And if you didn't have them, there would be no comparison of, I remember this person used to do this and this person used to do this and they used to put me in this, and it's like, nah, if you didn't have that experience in the first place, you wouldn't have any reference point. And I think that not having a reference point going into a Christ-filled marriage is so, it's like, it's great if you can have it, but it's not the be all and end all. But it just makes things easier. I think things are going to be harder. We can overcome, of course, in Jesus' name, but it's going to make things harder. So I think with more talk about this kind of thing and understanding why not to, just for practical reasons as well as just listen and trust what God said, but given maybe a couple practical reasons and stuff, it's like just helpful.
Yeah, like I think for me as well, like I think, like, you're in church, this, like, so you're in church, you might not be a Christian or whatever, you might know biblical principles, but like you're praying the basic prayers, like, oh God, like when so and so walks past, like, just let me like be blind for a second so I don't see her. Or like, oh God, like, let me be blind for a second. Or like, oh God, like, I hope I don't see her today, because like, man, that's feeling some kind of way, yeah. Or like, like, God, like, what am I meant to do with all these thoughts? Like playback rule in your head, like, will never delete. Like, God's made like man's memory like in a way that like you don't
literally
forget.
That's so
you
mad.
But you can forget though. You can forget. It's possible. Okay, you say that. No, don't limit God. You can pray and ask him. Okay, you're not gonna ever completely forget, I don't think. But you can pray and ask him, like,
I would definitely say it helps in terms of the feelings.
Yeah.
I've definitely prayed for God to like take away certain feelings or like certain responses, and it works. Yeah. But I think the forget part, like completely, like it's in the memory to just be gone. I don't remember what it looks like.
Well, because God hasn't done it yet, has he?
I think he
hasn't. Anything is possible.
I think he hasn't done it, and he's not going to do it.
Why?
Consequence of your own behaviour.
It's a consequence. There's
true,
always
but
a
it doesn't
consequence.
mean there's always a consequence. But it doesn't mean that God is not merciful. It doesn't mean that he can't. What about flip it? Wait, flip it. So, because I feel like it's the same person for someone maybe who's experienced abuse. Yeah. Like, God, let me forget that. They can make it forget. Just because you weren't abused or you didn't perpetuate the abuse doesn't mean that the same principle doesn't apply. Like, God can still.
You're right,
do
and
that.
I'm not not gonna limit God today.
Yeah,
I'm not
don't
gonna be
limit
that
him.
person.
Don't limit him.
It's possible. Of course. It's possible.
And my thing is this. This is my take on it is like, you know, I have experience, and I did used to think when I did used to think. No, I still do think, because there are guys out there who haven't. But first of all, when I was like, oh my gosh, like when it was daunting for me, like, okay, you know, what if I meet some Christian guy who's like never had sex before, or he's never done anything physical before, and he either thinks that I know too much, or he doesn't know enough for me, or whatever. Yeah. But then I was like, no, bun that. Like I actually feel like, number one, the two of you together are new together. Yeah. So you've never experienced them. They've never, well, by God's grace anyway, you've never experienced them. They've never experienced you. So that's new in and of itself, regardless of what your pasts are like. Yeah. And then on top of it, you know, I like to learn and I like to teach. So I feel
but you have to be ways, this whole pre-made package with your name on it. Yeah, she does this and she does this. It's mad. It's lit. Yeah, it's not real. It's not real.
Before,
that's not the way it's meant to be.
To teach, but
teaching in that context is powerful in the container of marriage. Because it's like, again, you're just being vulnerable with each other. You're just sharing. You're like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. And it's like, oh, like you can learn, and things can take time. I think it's another side effect of our culture where everything is now
instant.
Yeah. This needs to be ready. This needs to be patterned. Okay, let's go. You don't want to do any work. You don't want to build someone up. Like, your marriage is meant to be you building, and also vice versa. You should both be learning. You should both be growing from the get-go. So like there should be no you know what I mean? You have to learn. And
I would just like to say that it's not that lit when there's no emotion involved. I think that's an accurate assessment that people have made. I would agree.
When maybe people try and make it just a physical thing.
Yeah, that, or it's not that great when it's with someone that you're not secure with either.
So you're not vulnerable, open.
People like to put out prior to being comfortable or knowing that it's not actually in a place that it should be, and that will never feel 100%. I believe that would be an accurate statement.
Shucks.
I personally don't agree with this thing about what do you call it? Is it sexual freedom? I want to call it.
Whoa.
So like where
what are you referring to exactly?
So basically, like, when for males or females, I feel like right now in this current climate, it's more directed at females in the sense of, you know, owning your sexuality and just basically just being as free as you want to do and whatever. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's a myth.
Free the things then.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's a huge myth. I'm not knocking anyone who feels like they want to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go out there and just, you know,
free the ting,
but it's a myth. I feel like, because you can't, as much as we can try our best to separate the spiritual act of sex and the physical act of sex. Even if you try it, even if you think that you're separating them, they're never separated. So you think, I'm just I'm living my best life, I'm reclaiming, whatever it looks like to you, like, and you're just there, you know, going around. Even if it's with one person, even if it's just with one person, because let's be honest, some people are sexually free and it's just with the one person, but it's never in the correct context, and so you are losing something. Like, you are, like, you might be gaining, you know, what, if you're lucky, you know, 15 minutes of like pleasure.
No, I hear you, but I think it's important that we just talk more about this kind of stuff, because people we don't the more experiences we share, for those of us who have been through things, I guess, before we've gone to the point where we are now, and even that I think is key, but even that in itself, the understanding that your walk as a Christian is a journey. And I think a lot of time people are afraid or scared to admit that they've watched porn when they're a Christian, or that they're addicted, they have been addicted, or they are addicted to porn, or that they've had sex, or that they've done this or that or that or that. And it's like, bro, that is a part of your testimony. Like, that is a part of what you need to share to people. And then you're meant to turn it around and be like, this is what Jesus did for me. Like, this is how the gospel and Christ has impacted my life, and this is how it's completely reshaped my thinking. So I was at a place where I used to think this and do this, and I like was all about this, but Jesus entered into my life and changed me, and changed the way I see things and the way I relate to the world and to my peers. I think more people should just be honest and just bring the real, just say what it is, so we can discuss it, remembering that this whole Christianity thing is a journey. And I think luckily for me, I had a close group of friends who from the beginning we were always 100% honest with each other, and we just chopped up and we would talk and we would help each other, but not everyone has that. So like I think more people need to be willing to have these kind of open, honest conversations and address things head on. Like people think if you're having sex, like that means you know, like you know, like it's done. Like there's no point. There's no way for me to like actually become a Christian or do this kind of thing. It's like nah, that's not how it works. You don't become clean and then get saved. Like you get saved and you become clean.
It's a process
in the dirt, and it's like it starts and then it's a process, and it's like you might slip and fall, but you just keep coming back. I think for me, I can't remember where it was, but the one thing I took away from the sermon or the whole worship time and everything was just keep coming back. No matter how many times you slip up, no matter how many times you fall. If you watch porn and then you like say you're gonna stop and you watch it again, it doesn't matter how many times you slip up, the love of God is still greater and it's still bigger than that. So you just have to keep coming back. And I think for me that's the key bit of advice from my experiences that I would share and give people, that just keep coming back and just know that whatever you've been through, whatever you're battling, whatever you're dealing with, God's love is greater. And there's nothing that he won't forgive you of, essentially.